So today in this episode, I'm gonna explain a conversation. So this is the conversation of on a podcast. This Punjabi guy went to France for as a worker. Then he went into the France army. All right. So he is explaining his life, how it was in the army, stuff like that. And I also haven't listened to this podcast yet. It's a long podcast, more than an hour. I can't explain whole podcast. Maybe I'm gonna explain somewhat of couple of minutes, something like that. So my main purpose is to teach you the grammar structure of Punjabi. All right, how we talk in the past, how we talk in the present. Most of the time, when somebody is giving you interview, it's past and present tense. It's very rarely in the future. Yeah, sometimes future, but my purpose is to basically explain his conversation. And when I'm trying to explain, just I'm gonna show you how he is ending the sentence, all right? Because in Punjabi, if you wanna speak like correctly, it's all about how you ending the sentences, all right? And these ending sentences basically gonna make you like kind of more fluent and more natural. And all these endings I already covered in my podcast, like how we ending the sentence and different tenses, like how we do. And I also made some beginner lessons. You can check them out. So these kind of lessons on my podcast. Maybe those lessons are not available on YouTube probably, but if you go on Spotify, you can check them. All right. So I'm gonna show you all I teach through my podcast, so you will find in this podcast the way we talk, all right? And I'm gonna explain it. Probably I'm gonna also explain some vocabulary, but my purpose is not explain what he's saying. My purpose is to recognize what's like a tense he's speaking, how we talk in the past, how we talk in the present, stuff like that, all right? So let's get started.
ਮੈਂ ਨਾ ਭਾਈ ਨੂੰ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਭਾਈ ਉਹਨੇ ਗਲ ਤੋਂ ਫੜ ਕੇ ਕੰਧ ਨਾਲ ਲਾ ਲਿਆ, ਕੰਧ ਨਾਲ ਲਾ ਲਿਆ ਤੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਚੜ੍ਹਦਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਗਲ ਘੋਟਦਾ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਹਲੇ
So he was saying ਉਹਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੰਧ ਨਾਲ ਲਾ ਲਿਆ ਤੇ ਮੇਰਾ ਗਲ ਘੋਟਤਾ, all right? Now he was saying he put me on the wall and he basically choked me, all right? Gal ਘੋਟਤਾ means choke me. So this guy, when you see, when he said ਕੰਧ ਨਾਲ ਲਾ ਲਿਆ, so he was using past tense. He was telling his story, ਲਾ ਲਿਆ, all right? ਮੇਰਾ ਗਲ ਘੋਟਤਾ, all right? So ਘੋਟਤਾ is mean choking, all right? So you can notice when I say kota, like there is a ta, then it's in the past. In the future, it's going to kotuga, all right? In the future, it's a ga. In the present, it's going to be like a kotda or koti janda, something like that, all right? So he said kota, so it is in the past, all right? Let's listen more.
ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਭਾਜੀ ਆ ਗਿਆ ਰੈਂਕ ਰੂਮ ਲਾ ਲੇ, ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਲੜ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਮਰੇ 'ਚ ਲੈ ਗਿਆ ਖਿੱਚ ਕੇ ਤੋਂ।
So he said ਆ ਗਿਆ, ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਲੜ, all right? And ਮੇਰੇ rank room ko ਲਾ ਲੇ. So rank means that when you see anybody like a cop or maybe a soldier, they have like some kind of indicator on their shoulders, like it shows you their rank. So that's what he's saying. He said he just pulled up my all rank. And here he is telling it is overview. He's not starting story from the beginning, all right? It's just overview of the podcast. Another thing you notice, this guy is saying Paji, all right, in interview. So it means he belongs to the Baba. And the Baba area, they called Paji, all right? The guy who's interviewing, who basically the host of the podcast, that is from Malwa. And he wants a Paji. You can see, if you listen to this podcast, he is going to say Bai or Bai Ji or Bai. In Malwa, we say Bai, all right? So in the Baba, they call Paji, which means brother. So that's how you know basically like where are you from. So anyway, he is talking in the past.
ਤਿੰਨ ਚਾਕੂ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ, ਇੱਕ ਮੇਰੇ ਇੱਧਰ ਡੱਬ 'ਚ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਭਾਜੀ, ਇੱਕ ਇੱਧਰ ਲੱਤ 'ਚ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਇੱਧਰ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਭਾਜੀ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ।
So he said ਤਿੰਨ ਚਾਕੂ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਮੇਰੇ ਡੱਬ 'ਚ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ. So ਚਾਕੂ means a knife. He's talking about ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ, all right? ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ. So it means it's always in my pocket, right? In the past. He was talking about past. So he didn't say ਰਹੇ ਸੀ, ਜਾਂ for example Yeah, rahe si means only one time, like it's a one-time activity. But he said rende si. When in fast we say like a karde si, rende si, padde si. When it's like that kind of stuff, that kind of style of the verb. So it's si at the end. So it means the activity was continued. All right. So it was not like it's not one-time activity. So that's the difference. There's like if you have to say like ਮੇਰੀ ਜੇਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਚਾਕੂ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ. So it means only one time activity, but he didn't say ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ, he said ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ. All right, or ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਸੀ. If singular, he have to say ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਸੀ. So it's not a one time, it's mean always. All right,
ਤੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਵੀ ਤੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਅੱਲਾ ਕੱਢ ਲਾ, ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਡਰਦਾ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਮਾਰ ਮੇਰੇ, ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਚੱਕਰ ਨਹੀਂ, ਮਾਰ ਮੇਰੇ ਮਾਰ, ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਮਾਰੀ ਨਾ ਮੈਂ
so he say ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਕੱਢ ਲਾ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਚਾਕੂ ਆ, ਮਾਰ ਮੇਰੇ ਮਾਰ. So in the situation, he's not talking about past, he's presenting kind of live scene. So basically he's saying he maybe fight with the guy officer in the army, so he was like telling him like let's fight, something like that. So now he switched, he's talking about first like in the past what he did, then he's presenting a live scene. All right,
ਤਾਂ ਪੂਰੇ ਜੱਡਿਆਂ ਪਾ ਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬਾਈ
ਹਟ ਚਲਤਾ
ਔਰ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ
ਚਾਕੂਰਾ.
so he said pat shilata or pat vadta, it means he scratched his thigh. Pat means thigh, he scratched his thigh with the knife. All right, so you can see he said pat shilata. So again it's a ta, shilata. All right, or badta, ta. When it's ta, then it means he's talking to past. All right, shilata means kind of scratch or you ripped apart. So when it says shilata, it's past. In the future, it's going to be shilluga. मैं तेरा पट shillunga. It means I will like rip apart your thigh. All right, but he didn't say in the future because he's talking about in the past. All right, so shilata. All right, so it's in the past. That's how you need to basically when you're gonna speak, you need to know like the verb, how we can use this verb in the past, how we can use this verb in the future, and how we can use this verb in the present or future, whatever.
ਚਾਕੂ ਨਾਲ ਲਹੂ ਲਹਾਨ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਉਹਨੇ ਨਾ ਭਾਈ ਜਦੋਂ ਪਿੱਛੋਂ ਢਵਾ ਕੇ ਏਦਾਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਮਾਰੀ ਇੱਥੇ.
So then he said lahu lahan ho gaya. So it means it was bleeding. So he said ho gaya is in the past. Ho gaya means kind of happened in the past. Hoga in future. All right, if somebody say hoi janda, it means it's happening now. Hoi janda. ਉਹਦੇ ਲਹੂ ਨਿਕਲੀ ਜਾਂਦਾ, it means he's bleeding. All right, ਲਹੂ ਲਹਾਨ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ, it means it happened already. If I say don't fight with knife, right, it's going to be a bleed, so it's in the future. In Punjabi it's going to be like a ਚਾਕੂ ਨਾਲ ਨਾ ਲੜ, ਲਹੂ ਲਹਾਨ ਹੋ ਜਾਓਗੇ, right, ਹੋ ਜਾਓਗੇ, it means it will bleed. So you need to understand the verb structure. All right, when you're listening a podcast, listening everybody, just try to pay attention how they are choosing the verb, how they are choosing the endings of the sentence. All right, that's my main purpose to teach you.
ਭਾਜੀ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਰੋਕ ਲਈ ਸੀ ਕੁਦਰਤੀ ਮਤਲਬ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਏਦਾਂ.
Then he said Paji ਮੈਂ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਰੋਕ ਲਈ ਸੀ. All right, again he said Paji, he is from the Baba, which means the brother. ਰੋਕ ਲਈ ਸੀ means I stopped. Rok lazy, again lazy in the past. All right, so that's what he's saying, past.
ਕੀ ਹਾਲ ਚਾਲ?
ਠੀਕ ਠਾਕ ਭਾਜੀ ਵਧੀਆ ਜੀ.
ਕੀ ਨਾਮ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਆਪ ਹੀ ਦੱਸ ਦਿਓ ਤੁਸੀਂ.
ਵਿਧੀ ਚੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ.
ਵਿਧੀ ਚੰਦ.
So he said ਕੀ ਨਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਆਪ ਹੀ ਦੱਸ ਦਿਓ. Now in this situation he's not talking about the past, so he is asking his name, just tell me, something like that. Now you can see it's kind of present or normal, right, it's not past.
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਨਾਮ ਕਿਹਨੇ ਰੱਖਿਆ?
ਇਹ ਫਾਦਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਰੱਖਿਆ.
ਫਾਦਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ.
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਆਪਣੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਇੰਟਰੋਡਕਸ਼ਨ ਦਿਓ.
ਜੀ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪੋਡਕਾਸਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਬੜਾ ਵਧੀਆ ਲੱਗਦਾ. ਮਤਲਬ ਮੈਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸੋਚਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਮਿਲਟਰੀ ਜਾਣਾ ਸੀਗਾ, ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਫਰਾਂਸ ਗਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ.
So he said introduction ਦਿਓ, like tell me your introduction. Then he said ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਸੋਚਿਆ ਸੀ. All right, so it means I thought about in the past. Again, probably it's all over the place. Maybe you are not understanding what they're talking about, but this is not my purpose. My purpose is to teach you or like I try to like tell you how to recognize the tenses. in past, in present. Maybe for vocabulary another day I will explain it another day, but in this situation I'm just trying to tell you the sentence structure. If you can understand somewhat Punjabi, I will put this link in my podcast description, because if you find this interesting podcast, this guy who went to France as a worker, then he went to the army, and he's explaining how dangerous this army is, stuff like that. You can watch this podcast directly, go through my link. But now I'm just trying to explain when he talk in the past, present, something like that, all right?
ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਉਦੋਂ ਇਮੇਜਿਨੇਸ਼ਨ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਇਦਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਬੈਠਾ ਕਦੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਪੋਡਕਾਸਟ
So then he said, ਮੈਂ imagination ਕਰਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ, all right? If you check my podcast, when I explain hunda or hunna, hunda si, I explain these kind of things. So he said, मैं imagination करदा हुंदा सी. It means I used to do imagination, all right? So again, he said imagination करदा हुंदा सी. It means he was doing multiple times in the past, all right? He used to do it. So if he said मैं imagination कीती, let's say he didn't say that, but if he said that, कीती, it means only one time. Maybe one day he did the imagination, all right? Then he will say मैं imagination कीती. All right. So if he have to say, like, let's say if he need to say like I'm doing the imagination nowadays, then he will say मैं imagination करदा हुन्ना. करदा हुन्ना. It means he's doing right now. When I say मैं करदा हुंदा सी, it means in past. He used to do it, not anymore. All right. So if he has to say like he will do the imagination maybe tomorrow, next week, something like that, then he will say मैं imagination करूँगा. Imagination करूँगा, now it's करूँगा. All right. Again, when he say like a hunda or hunna, it means continue. It's happening again and again. And he put C at the end, like a hunda C. It means in the past he used to do the imagination. All right. So I'm showing you the examples I taught in the past, in my my past episodes. All right. Hunda Huna, I already teach you. Make sure you watch or listen those podcasts so you can know how we use these kind of like words. Hunda Huna, something like that. And this is the live example how we talk. All right. This guy is using these kind of words I already teach you.
ਚਲੋ ਕਿਸੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ
ਅੱਛਾ ਜੀ
ਇਹ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਇਮੇਜਿਨੇਸ਼ਨ ਮੈਂ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੋਈ
ਮੈਨੀਫੈਸਟੇਸ਼ਨ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਕੀ ਬਾਤ ਹੈ ਯਾਰ ਲੋਕ ਤਾਂ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਆਰਮੀ ਚ ਜਾ
So he also said, "Pehli imagination mein kiti." Again, now he used like a one time. Pehli, like a first time I did the imagination. Now it was one time. That's why he said kiti. All right. Before he said karta hunda si, it means he used to do. All right.
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਤਰਸਦਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਫਰਾਂਸ ਦੀ ਆਰਮੀ ਚ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਗਏ
ਫਰਾਂਸ ਦੀ ਆਰਮੀ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਆਰਮੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਮੇਰਾ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਮਾਂਡੋ ਬਣਦਾ
ਓਕੇ
ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ 10th ਕਲਾਸ 'ਚ ਸੀਗਾ ਮੈਂ ਟੈਟੂ ਬਣਵਾ ਲਿਆ ਸੀ ਹੱਥ ਤੇ
So he said, ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ 10th class 'ਚ ਸੀ ਮੈਂ ਹੱਥ ਤੇ tattoo ਬਣਵਾ ਲਿਆ ਸੀ. So he is saying when he was in 10th grade, he made a tattoo on his hand, all right? So this thing he's talking about in the past, all right? Because he's telling a story. It's past tense. So if you want to tell a story to somebody in Punjabis, past tense is the most important tense, all right?
ਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਉਹ ਕੱਢ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਐਕਸੈਪਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ
ਓਕੇ ਟੈਟੂ ਵਾਲੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਅਲਾਉਡ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਰਮੀ ਚ
So basically, if I give you a little bit what's going on in this podcast, so the guy, he's asking him, why did you join like a France army, not Indian army? So he said he has a tattoo on his hand, because in Indian army, if you have a tattoo, they want basically you can't we go to in the army, so you should have no tattoo, all right? So he said he had a tattoo that he couldn't join the Indian army. He wants to do it, but he couldn't. Then he went to the France just for work. Then probably I don't know how he got into the army. Maybe he will tell in the podcast in upcoming. So, but yeah, let's see what he's saying.
ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਮੈਂ ਯੂਰਪ ਦਾ ਅਪਲਾਈ ਕੀਤਾ ਉੱਥੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਤਾਇਆ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਕੰਪਨੀ ਆ ਇਲੈਕਟ੍ਰੀਸ਼ੀਅਨ ਦੀ
So he said ਫਿਰ ਮੈਂ ਯੂਰਪ ਦਾ apply ਕੀਤਾ. So he applied for Europe, maybe at work, right? So again he said ਕੀਤਾ. All right, he is talking about the past. Kita means like a did. So he did kita. It's a one-time activity. So he applied one time, right? If he say karda hunda si, then it's mean he was applying multiple times. Like maybe sometimes like if somebody applied for a visa multiple times, then he say like मैं कई बार apply कीता. When he used कई बार, even he used कीता, but he already used कई बार means many times. Or they can say मैं करदा हुंदा सी, it means he used to apply, right? But in this case he say मैं apply कीता, it's one time activity. Then he say मेरे ताया जी दे मुंडे आ उत्थे, something like that, right? Or मेरे ताया जी आ. So in this situation he didn't use past because they are still there. His maybe his uncle is there, right? If he didn't say see, because if he see, it means he's used to live in Europe, not anymore. But he say, maybe ode munde, something like. Let me listen it again.
ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਮੈਂ ਯੂਰਪ ਦਾ ਅਪਲਾਈ ਕੀਤਾ, ਉੱਥੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਤਾਇਆ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਆ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਆਪਣੀ
Yeah, he said, "Othe mere taya ji de munde a." It means his uncle's sons there. All right. So he did then. I also made a podcast about this. Means like a hai. You will see in the books hai, right? But in talking, we don't use hai. We always use ga, va, something like that. So he said So it means they are still there. It's in present. If it would be a past, he should have used see instead of but he didn't because they are still there.
ਕੰਪਨੀ ਇਲੈਕਟ੍ਰੀਸ਼ੀਅਨ ਦੀ।
ਇਲੈਕਟ੍ਰੀਸ਼ੀਅਨ
ਹਾਂਜੀ।
ਯੂਰਪ ਚ ਕਾਹਦਾ?
So he said ਉੱਥੇ company electrician ਦੀ. So his uncle's son, they have a company of electrician. That's how he went to the Europe in France as a worker.
ਮਤਲਬ ਬਾਹਰ ਜਾਣ ਲਈ ਕਿ ਆਰਮੀ ਲਈ?
ਨਹੀਂ ਮਤਲਬ ਕਿ ਬਾਹਰ ਕੰਮ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਫਰਾਂਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹ ਆ ਕੰਪਨੀ ਆ।
ਓਕੇ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਬਾਹਰ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ,
ਬਾਹਰ ਕੰਮ
ਉਹ ਅਪਲਾਈ ਕੀਤਾ।
ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਭਾਜੀ
Okay, so the guy who was the host, he was say he make sure like did you go to France to join army or just for work? So he said just for work. Then he said ਜਿਵੇਂ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ, right? So ਜਿਵੇਂ like most of people go to Europe for work, right? So it means army general. Like he said, like the guys go to Europe for work in general, right? So he just jande ya. It means they go, like it's kind of like a routine. Most of people go. So it's not in past. It's not in continuous tense. It means kind of general, like a present simple tense, right? Karde ya, jande ya, khede ya, something like that. It means it's used to, not you to, it means it happened, right? Regular basis. So that's what he said, jande ya.
ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਮਤਲਬ ਤੂੰ ਇੱਥੇ ਫਰਾਂਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਜਾ, ਇੱਥੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਲਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ। ਇੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਚਲਾ ਗਿਆ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਸੀਗੇ ਨਾ, ਉੱਥੇ ਛੋਟੀ ਉਮਰੇ ਗਏ, ਉੱਥੇ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਭਾਜੀ। ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ
So he said ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਸੀਗੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ. So this word ਸੀਗਾ is a colloquial word, right? In the books you won't find it. So he could also say ਉੱਥੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਸੀ. This is also way, but we also use ਸੀਗੇ, all right? ਉੱਥੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ, ਉੱਥੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀ. ਸੀਗੇ means also in past, all right? If I say ਮੈਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਪੜ੍ਹਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ, all right? So it is in past, all right? It means I could also say ਉੱਥੇ ਮੈਂ ਪੜ੍ਹਦਾ ਸੀ or ਪੜ੍ਹਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ. It's kind of same. It's kind of past simple tense, all right? So if you heard the ਸੀਗਾ, so don't confuse. It's just a see, all right? So मैं ਉੱਥੇ ਪੜ੍ਹਦਾ ਸੀ, ਮੈਂ TV ਦੇਖਦਾ ਸੀ, and ਸੀਗਾ is the same thing, all right? But sometimes we use ਸੀਗਾ. It's kind of colloquial thing.
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਿਆ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਯਾਰ ਤੇਰੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੰਨੀ ਫੁਰਤੀ ਆ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ 9 ਮੰਜ਼ਲੀ ਉੱਤੇ ਮਤਲਬ ਬਿਲਡਿੰਗਾਂ ਬਣਦੀ।
Then he said ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਯਾਰ ਤੇਰੇ 'ਚ ਇੰਨੀ ਫੁਰਤੀ ਆ, right? So first line is in past. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ, he told me ਤੇਰੇ 'ਚ ਇੰਨੀ ਫੁਰਤੀ ਆ. ਫੁਰਤੀ means kind of agility, right? Agility. So he was saying like you have so much agility, right? So furti ya, it's kind of like first he said unna ne dassya in the past what he does, then he gave the statement in the present. Tere ch bahut furti ya, all right? So that's how when we talk we combine two tenses together. First he said like somebody told him in the past, then he basically gave his statement as he gave him like in present.
Yeah. ਉੱਥੇ ਮੈਂ ਪੈਪ ਚੱਕ ਕੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾਣੇ ਦਾ ਤਸੱਲੀ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਣੇ, ਮਤਲਬ ਨੱਠ ਭੱਜ ਕਰਦਾ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਸੀ। ਮੈਂ ਸੀਗਾ ਭਾਜੀ 22-23 ਸਾਲ ਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ।
ਓਕੇ।
4 ਸਾਲ।
Again, interview asked ਕਿੰਨੀ ਏਜ ਸੀ ਔਰ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਏਜ ਸੀ, something like that. He said ਮੈਂ 21-22 ਸਾਲ ਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ, something like that. 21-22, maybe, I don't know, whatever the age he said. Siga, he used again Siga. It means I was 21 or 22, something like that.
ਮਿਲਟਰੀ 'ਚ ਹੋ ਗਏ।
ਓਕੇ। ਅੱਛਾ 22-23 ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮਿਲਟਰੀ ਦੀ ਤਿਆਰੀ ਵੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ?
ਤਿਆਰੀ ਕੁਛ ਨਹੀਂ, ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਦਾ ਭਾਈ।
He said like ਅੱਛਾ 22-23 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ ਉਮਰ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮਿਲਟਰੀ ਦੀ ਤਿਆਰੀ ਵੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ, alright? So he said ਅੱਛਾ 22-23 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ ਉਮਰ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤੇ, so he basically went to the army and when he was 22, 23, something like that, maybe, yeah, 22. So the interview asking him like, did you train for the army, right? So again, in books, when we ask a question like when we say like the question is like, did you train for that? So when it's did at the beginning, so as a question in English, in Punjabi is ki, right? So he should have asked like ki ਤੂੰ ਤਿਆਰੀ ਵੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ, ਕੀ ਤੂੰ, but he didn't say ki, alright? Because when we talk, we don't say that keyword, it's only in the books. So he just say like ਤੂੰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਿਆਰੀ ਵੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ, right? ਤੂੰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਿਆਰੀ ਵੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ. So it's just the tone, the way he is using the tone, so you would know it's a question, alright?
ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਤੋਂ ਦੱਸੋ ਕਹਾਣੀ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਕੰਮ ਤੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ।
So then he says, ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਤੋਂ ਦੱਸੋ ਕਹਾਣੀ. It means tell me from the beginning, alright? So anyway, I think I can't explain all. It's only like a 4 minutes, because already I recorded this more than 20 minutes, so it's gonna be so long to explain. So yeah, my purpose is just explain the tense, how we use the tense, how we do the endings, something like that. So if you are interested in this podcast, what he is saying, so make sure you check this podcast. If you can understand some kind of Punjabi, it's going to be really good podcast if you are interested in that. And I'm gonna basically put this link in the description. And another time, maybe let me know in the comments if you want me to explain this. If you can't understand properly, basically the Punjabi, you want me to explain this podcast maybe more, kind of more, when you can not as a like a grammar structure, you just want explanation, you want to understand this podcast, what he is saying, the meanings, you want to learn more vocabulary, then just let me know. I will basically make another podcast when I'm gonna explain the meaning, what they are talking about, what's the vocabulary, and how they are using stuff like that. Just let me know. I will make another podcast, all right? So far, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this lesson and learned something new today. I'll be back with another lesson another day.